Alright, so today we have another video from this amazing college for you guys. I'm here with my friend Doug. I didn't meet him on this campus. As you already know, we met because of Jiu-Jitsu, because Doug is a professor on the school, but he's also a really good fighter. If you guys didn't see,
try to be
his, you know, trophies right here. So can you tell me, because this college appears to be pretty big, can you tell me how many students approximately is here?
Almost 38,000, including undergraduates and graduates.
38,000. That's
38,
like an average. Almost. That's like an average Czech city.
Very big school,
so
very big.
Can you actually get here lost on the first day?
Oh yeah, I did.
You did.
First day I was here. When I got hired, I had to submit all types of paperwork, and I had to go from building to building, and I got completely lost when I was doing it.
So how long have you been here?
I've been here a year.
Only a year?
Only a year.
And before?
University of Illinois at Chicago and the Northern Illinois University.
So you are pretty solid background, right?
Been around, yeah. I've been teaching. I started TAing when I was in graduate school, and then got my first job on my own at Northern Illinois University, where I taught American politics and city politics. And then we moved out here to California and finishing up my dissertation, and I wound up getting this gig here at Long Beach. And I also teach at Loyola Marymount. So I have a pretty sweet setup right now.
Dude,
it's a good life.
That's really that's intense. How many years do you have to study to get to this point that you can teach? Including
undergraduate and graduate, anywhere from 10 to 15 years. Depends on the topic, depends on the field. Yeah, I mean, undergraduate and then graduate school.
You count only the life after high school, or the 15 years?
Yeah, well, no, not high school. I don't. That's not counting high school. That's
so
not
15 years on college, so you can teach.
That's college for 4 years. A master's usually takes 2 years. So sometimes in some fields you can teach with just a master's. In the social sciences, you used to be able to. Now it's very competitive. It's hard to get a teaching gig with just a master's. You have to be at least close to a doctorate to get a job. And when you're dealing with a master's and a doctorate, you're dealing with from the start of undergraduate through a completion of a doctorate, you're dealing with anywhere from usually between 10 and 15 years.
Can you reach this level on state colleges, or do you have to go private?
No, I did. I was all public universities the entire time. I did my undergraduate degree at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I did my master's at the University of Baltimore, which is a public institution, and my doctorate, which is finishing up very soon at the University of Illinois at Chicago. But funny story, I actually started out at the community college level.
So how satisfied are you on this campus?
Very. I love it here. It's a very laid-back campus. I really like Long Beach students. It's a diverse student body. I've always, from the start of my college career through now, I've always been at urban, diverse universities where people in the classroom are from all different sorts of backgrounds. And for me, it really makes for a more lively learning experience, which I personally prefer. But on top of that, who wouldn't love it here? I mean, the campus is gorgeous. It's sunny every day. There's good food on campus. I can go and get something healthy to eat at one of the juice places or something. So I can live my lifestyle. I can, I have freedom they give me the freedom to teach classes the way I want to teach them here, and the department's great, the university's great, everyone here takes care of me. It's a dream job. It beats working for a living.
I don't feel any stress here.
I think it's part of the environment that we try to create here, especially for undergraduate students. I think we try to create a relaxed environment here because a relaxed mind, I think, is a better working mind, and I think that's kind of the vibe. Also, Long Beach is just notoriously a super laid-back place. So I think the vibe of the university kind of fits in with the vibe of Long Beach.
So how many years are you planning to be here? Or is there such a thing like planning? Do you want to stay here forever?
If it were up to me, right now, with the way I feel about here, I want to be here forever.
Really?
I love teaching here. I love the student body here. I love the department. This is where I like living. And I have a pretty good setup right now, so I like it here a lot. We'll see how things work out. You don't always get what you want in life. So We'll see how things work out, but if it were up to me, I would be here forever. You know, if I were to take what I have right now and someone were to say to me, this is how it's always going to be, I would be totally cool with that. My life is very good. I'm a very fortunate person, and I don't take it for granted. So I would hope forever.
So, since you say that your life is good, do you think that when we take all those years of studying in consideration of how much you can make here, do you think it's worth, or?
Financially?
Yeah.
No.
Do you think financially the teachers are getting a lot? Or?
No. Financially, I don't think most teachers are paid what we're worth. But at the same time, you know that going into the field. Like everyone knows going into being a teacher, you're never gonna be a millionaire just teaching. Like if you want to try and cross the lines of academia into pop culture and write best-selling books, you could do that too. For me personally, I don't really care. It's not something that's important to me. Like for me personally, I would rather love what I do. I'd rather love where I live and just do okay financially. You know, I'm comfortable. I'm not rich, but you know, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And you know, I would rather have that than work 80 hours a week in finance, and you know, I have tons of nice things, but I don't have the time to enjoy them, and I'm always stressed out, and I don't enjoy what I do all day. I find what I do very fulfilling, and there's no price for that. Like that's, to me, that's priceless.
Yeah, because I met a lot of people who actually had to study a lot, even on private schools, to get their job, what they love. Exactly. They talk about this job what they currently have with the same passion like you do.
Yeah.
But now they realize, okay, I have $100,000 like a debt because I had to go to this one particular school to get a degree from there, and now I'm getting paid like, you know, not well. So you think that even if you like that, the teachers are not paid?
I mean, comparatively to
other professions who study the same way.
Here's what I think. I think teaching, from a societal standpoint, is a necessary job.
Yeah. Somebody has to do it.
Nobody gets anything without teachers, because no matter what you do for a living, someone taught you how to do it. So there's value in it, no matter what the field. And political science isn't the most lucrative field, but let's say finance, for example. Finance is a very lucrative field. And there's teachers who teach things with respect to business and finance to people that go on to become millionaires and billionaires with the information that they get in those classes. So, do I think teachers are paid what they're worth? I think in California, comparatively, we actually get paid pretty well compared to the rest of the country. But there's teachers throughout the rest of the United States who have to moonlight doing, you know, serving jobs or driving for Uber, and I think that's a real shame. I think if you go to college and you teach full-time and try to give back to a community from a principal standpoint, I think you at least deserve to make a living wage. I think that's fair.
That's not even a question.
But in a lot of places in the country, a lot of teachers do not make livable wages, and they have to get extra jobs. And you know, even during breaks or even when they're supposed to be grading exams, they're working in bars and working in restaurants or driving cabs. And you know, from a fairness standpoint, I'm not sure it's the rightest thing.
Can you tell us what is your subject? What do you specialize in?
Sure.
But you have to make it like so we understand.
Speak in casual
you
terms.
speak to general population like me. Imagine you are explaining that to me.
No problem.
Okay.
So I study a field called political science. What political science is it's basically the study of governments and power. Basically, who gets what, where, and when. My specialty in political science is a field called urban politics. So I study city and local politics, predominantly in the United States. What I study within local politics are institutions that make policies, so city councils and legislatures. I also study several things with respect to privatization of public infrastructure is the name of the topic, which is basically, for example, like a public's water resources getting bought out by a private company, and then that private company has distribution rights now over water. That's what we mean when we say public infrastructure, something that's generally owned by the public, like bridges and tollways and parking spaces on public streets. Sometimes those things get bought by private companies, and there's consequences for that from a policy standpoint for the general people. what I teach basically all facets of American politics. I teach introductory courses to American government. I teach constitutional law, which really looks
That
at...
must be so hard, bro.
I actually love it, and I find the
I know you love it, but for people to learn that.
well, I think it's very dependent on the teacher.
Constitutional
I
law.
think it's very dependent on the teacher. I promise any of your viewers, I can find a way to teach it to any of you.
Yeah,
You know?
because the thing is, like, when you mention constitutional law, I imagined something that was written in 1776.
You're right on that,
but
but
it must be so hard to get it, right?
no, because yes, the Constitution is written and ratified in the late 1700s. But at the same time, the Constitution is created, essentially it's this living document that's always being reinterpreted by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So basically what we study in constitutional law isn't the writing of the document. I could teach you the writing of the document in a day. The Constitution is not a long document. You can read it in 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
It's very short, but it's the meaning of the document which causes so much hubbub in American politics, right? And there's
Because
this,
it's not like defined.
yeah, a
exactly,
lot of
right?
things aren't clearly defined, so a lot of things are left open for interpretation. So there's this history in the Supreme Court of interpreting exactly what the document says. And when we teach constitutional law, we're getting at exactly what does the document say and what's the history of its interpretation. So when I teach constitutional law, I'm not teaching someone how to be a lawyer. I'm just teaching someone what the legal field has kind of determined about what the Constitution says.
So, how many students you have in one class?
In one class, it could be anywhere from 30 or so to almost 200. It depends on the class. An introductory 101 class sometimes can have around 150 to 200 students in it. I don't teach those classes here, but I've taught them in the past. Here, the majority of my classes have anywhere from 20 to 32 students in them. They're smaller classes, which is nice. I prefer a smaller classroom because I prefer to use the Socratic method in the way that I teach. I don't like to just lecture for an hour to an hour and a half. I like to talk, I like to ask questions, I like to get students talking to each other.
So do you know some of those students by name?
I do.
Right?
Yeah. It takes a little while, we're in the second week of the semester right now, so I don't have most people's names down, but
School just started.
yeah, but usually 5-6 weeks into the semester, if you're active in class, I remember your name.
Damn. So if somebody is burning a table with lighter, you will remember him because he's active in class, right?
Yeah, because I'm also going to kick him out of the room. So I'm just going to say, get
So-
out. Like, what are you doing here?
So have you ever, let's say, walked by here and, for example, like you were waiting in a line and somebody cut you short and you say like, hey, get back to the line or something, and they didn't know you are a professor or something like that?
No, never. I don't think I've had many confrontations with students on campus. The only time I've had confrontations with students are usually in the midst of there's some sort of political debate going on within a classroom, and a student says something that's a little out of line, or mean, or insulting, or profane, and then I just have to say, you're done for the day. You're done. That's really it. I can't say I've gotten into any confrontations with any students.
Yeah, I was more like thinking because you don't look by the way who you actually are. You don't look like somebody what I can associate with being a professor.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, to me, you have to have, thick glasses,
big gray beard and a big belly.
Yeah,
and,
but you just look like a guy who just study here,
Yeah, every time people ask what I do and they tell them, they go, wait, what? Really?
What? Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my reaction too. So, when people go to your classes, they learn what, you teach them. Is this something that they will also need in their future studies?
Sometimes, I have students who I've personally guided for years to get to where they are. I was talking to a former student the other day, a student that's been with me since my first semester ever as a TA. Yeah, teaching assistant in graduate school. And I wasn't even a teacher yet, but she appreciated my teaching style and just kept working with me. I helped her get into law school, and she's in her second year of law school now. Whereas I also, conversely, have tons of students every year who are taking a class of mine simply because it's a required course. And I know that going in. I know what classes I'm teaching that are required by the university. And for the most part, I know that the majority of students that are in my classroom, I'm not going to change all of their lives. And I know that I'm not going to help all of them find exactly what they want to do with their careers. I know maybe they'll forget me and they're going to forget all of the course material as soon as the course is over. I know that. What I hope is, my biggest hope for every student I have is, one, they become better at communicating with people, just overall. You learn how to talk to people, especially on something so contentious as politics, where you can really a discussion can completely devolve into something very mean-spirited really quickly. So I try to get students to never be in that mindset. And two, I kind of have a personal passion project for helping students become better writers. So even if you're not a social science major, I really like to try and help students with writing. There's been some problems in American public schools over the past the past 2 decades or so, where writing and civics and the fundamentals of writing and communicating have kind of taken a back seat at the high school level. And I think one of the things I like to try and do is kind of help get students up to speed with how to become a good writer, what social science writing is, but more importantly, just what good stylistic writing is, because writing is such a valuable skill to have in any field. If you're a good writer, people really take notice. And I don't mean just books or whatever. I mean, even just simply as a well-written email, you know, how to sound professional to someone. So, you know, that's really one of the main things I really hope to get. Even if students want nothing to do with the course material, I say, all right, fair enough, but at least let me try and help you in some sort of way.
Okay, and for the end, some laid-back question.
Okay.
So, everybody here saw the movie series American Pie. How real is that?
Not realistic at all.
Is this like a real American college?
Not realistic at all. Not realistic at all. That is nothing what college is like. College is a lot of work. Don't let any movies fool you. American college students work very, very, very hard, and they're under a tremendous amount of pressure, particularly the ones that want to get into careers where graduate school is a necessity. A lot of them are involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. A lot of them are heavily involved in either athletics or student government or moot courts or model UNs, and they work extremely hard, and it's a real grind. Reality is the majority of students here and the majority of American college students work very hard, and I'm very proud of all of them. So it is not realistic remotely.
So, when you mentioned that, another question. Every time when I do, and I know it's not from your field, but every time when I do video with somebody from US and I ask them, you know where Europe is? They have no idea where the fuck Europe is. They have no idea. Like, I was right now doing a video with my friend. She's from North Carolina, and I give her a map of Europe, and I told her like if she could find the country where I am from. She had no idea. I'm like, okay, we're a small country. But then she didn't know where Britain is, and I'm like, that's the language.
I would certainly hope I know where Britain is.
And I'm like, that's the language you speak. That came from there. You know? So, and people were almost like, I don't want to say upset, but maybe they were upset because the fact that Americans don't know where Britain is pissed them off, because back home we actually have to learn like maps of Africa, South America, North America. We know everything. We know, you can name a state in Africa and people will probably know where it is. So they are like, oh, Americans are dumb, their school system sucks. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I wouldn't say Americans are dumb and their school system sucks. I think a lot of Americans are, first off, especially if you're under the age of 25 or so, they're generally uninformed about stuff outside of the United States, statistically speaking, just because the majority of stuff they're having thrown in their face news-wise is domestically lately. But more importantly to that question, I think one of the main reasons is because at the high school level and lower, a lot of teaching in public schools now is geared around math and science. And basically teaching to tests and meeting federal requirements so that you can get federal funding in certain aspects. So certain things fall by the wayside. So certain subjects in social sciences sometimes fall by the wayside, and one of those is geography. But another one of those is civics and sociology and psychology, and those are things that, generally speaking, kind of get shorted at the high school level. And us, when we teach at the college level, we kind of have to try and make up the difference. So don't get too mad at the American students sometimes for making mistakes when it comes to larger international things. We're trying to help them make up for it at the college level. We're doing our best. That's all I can say.
Thank you for your time, Doug.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.